Good evening, Bethel Park parents. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's Schoology parent overview and training. Tonight we have four Bethel Park teachers who have agreed to give you a little piece of their perspective of what it's going to look like inside of Schoology, both from their view and from the student view. And they're going to give you some tips on navigating Schoology, and each of them will focus on a little different area. And so without further ado, I give you Charles Young. Mr. Young's our English language arts teacher at the high school, and he's going to take over from here. Mr. Youngs.
Thanks, Ron. I'm going to share my screen here with everybody. Glad we could all make it. I was thinking earlier today of that proverb, how it takes a village to raise a child here, and how an LMS, a learning management system like Schoology, can bring that village together, especially in times like this when it is when we have to be apart a little for a few weeks here. And so it's a perfect time to begin to upgrade our communications and delivery of things. I want to show you this slide. This slide will be repeated at the end of the presentation because we're sure you are likely to have questions. And so there is an email address where you can send in questions, as well as there's going to be a Schoology help desk beginning Monday, and that will be available from 6 to 9 p.m. The phone numbers for that help desk will be posted on the district website Schoology page. You would find that Schoology page by looking for the link under the quick links, which is in the top menu to the right. So, since I am an English teacher, we're going to start off with a little vocabulary and pronunciation. Folks at Schoology have fun with this. I can remember back when Schoology was just getting started. It had a connection and a beginning with our Carnegie Mellon University. And people would say Schoology or Schoology or a variety of things. But most of the time nowadays they say Schoology in 3 syllables. And they still have, if you go on YouTube, you can find the company themselves makes joke videos about the difficulty in figuring out how to say their name. In any case, it's a LMS, another series of letters that we use here in education, standing for Learning Management System, which is a fancy name for really a way for all of us to connect. It's a central hub connecting students, teachers, parents, and principals, providing the parents and the students with direct access to grades and views of academic programming and messaging. And so that's a really powerful new tool that we'll have. We've had several tools that do various parts of that, and this really pulls it together. So here you can see all of the many people of that village that I was speaking of, and the parts that we all play together in partnership to have our students grow and flourish. Despite the incredible change here and transition to this powerful tool, we're going to find that there's a lot of familiarity, and we can depend on the constants of the passion that parents have for their children and the dedication of our teachers to really leverage the power that an LMS can have. You'll find, too, that what is new will seem rather familiar, I think, relatively quickly, because many of the features that we are familiar with, maybe with Google Classroom or the Home Access Center, they all come together in this one hub. And in fact, many of them are integrated, and we're not, giving those up. they're going to be integrated into them. Especially important to have these messaging systems and delivery systems in a year where we have to start with distance learning. So speaking of distance learning, that's when you might have heard that term, and that simply means that in the olden days before the internet, it was correspondence courses, but now, of course, it's on the internet. We also talk about blended learning. That's the concept of when some of the instruction is online and some of it is in person. And this fall, due to the pandemic, we're starting with what I call the BPSD brand hybrid schedule. It's a asynchronous and synchronous schedule that will make it possible for us to transition as conditions improve or if they would not improve, or if they would if we would fall back in context, we could keep the learning and the schedule consistent. And so in talking about synchronous and asynchronous, those are not necessarily new concepts, because we used to call those classwork and homework maybe. But and so those are things that we are, again, familiar with, but they're slightly different in the blended and hybrid learning scenarios. With synchronous learning, we've got direct instruction, of course, because teachers are remotely speaking to students through video, and students are able to be in conversation and discussions there. Or when we moved back to the classroom in the hybrid situation, in smaller groups, they'll be face-to-face. So that's a place for sharing and questions and answers and clarifications, whereas the asynchronous is mediated instruction, whether that's reading, whether you're using the internet, research, practice, experience, projects, and other student work. There's one of our leading experts in the country is Catelyn Tucker, the leading expert on blended learning. And she marks it out this way, thinking of these are the activities that she would have us think of when we think of synchronous learning activities, whether that's in person or by video. Really, they all add up to the bottom here of connection, community, clarification, guided practice, that feedback back and forth, and that instructional accountability piece that is really what teaching and learning, where the rubber hits the road with teaching and learning there. Whereas asynchronous learning activities would look like this, with reading, working online, practice and review, research. So this is a place where really focused study and can occur. It might be where the students are working on something that is preparatory for the synchronous session, or it could be a review of a previous synchronous session. So going back and forth and building a rhythm that is similar to what we used to do with classwork and homework, only in a flipped model here. So with that introduction of some of those terms that we are hearing so much when we're talking about education nowadays, let me introduce our panel. We've got Katie Mucci. She's going to be talking to us about how Schoology looks at the elementary level and starting us with square one of how to log on and giving us a general orientation to the LMS. Then we have Rochelle Shum. She's a middle school teacher. She's going to show us some middle school examples as well as the workflow of assignments, how assignments are made to students and how they would submit those back, as well as a new feature that we have with Schoology that we didn't have with Google Classroom, and that is discussion board activities. Then I'll come back and talk about some high school examples and the navigation of course pages and also notification settings, how to set those up for your email and your mobile phones. And then Mike is going to talk to you about synchronous video and getting to class, especially important that very first day, to know what are the steps that a student is going to need to find that video links for that synchronous communication with his or her teacher. And so he'll tell us what to expect, how to find, the places to look for that on each teacher's page. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen and let Katie in.
Charles, thank you for that really excellent introduction. And I just want to chime in here and just help everybody understand that what you're about to see is representation based on 4 teachers teaching in different grade levels and different subjects. But our teachers are all unique throughout the entire district. And so just like your student is unique, and you're going to see a variety of different types of instructional strategies and assignment types in your students' classrooms. And it's okay because there's more than one way to make this work. Just like during a regular classroom, not every student is taught exactly the same way by every teacher. So, you know, what you're seeing here is representative tonight. And I just want you to understand that, you know, what you may see could be like this, could be different, could have a mixture of some that is like it and some that's different. So, okay, with that said, Katie.
Take it away, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katie Mucci. For those of you who don't know me, I teach 4th grade at Ben Franklin Elementary School. I see a bunch of my Franklin people on our live chat here. So if anybody's elementary or Ben Franklin, which is also elementary, I'm going to talk what it looks like from an elementary standpoint. Okay, so first things first, we need to log in. Students can log in using the BP Hawks bookmarks folder. And all students, once you're logged into Chrome, you have this folder here. They won't have as many bookmarks as I have. I'm on my teacher account, but down here at the bottom, they have a Schoology login. They can click that, and then they will log in with their Google login, which is also their Microsoft login. It's last name dot first name at bphawks.org, and then the password is different depending on the level and the building. So your child's teacher will give them their password. First thing I want to look at is a kindergarten classroom. And Mrs. Chris Felucci over at Washington Elementary volunteered her classroom for me to share with you. The reason I'm showing you a kindergarten classroom is because, like I mentioned, I teach 4th grade, and kindergarten will likely look very different than a 4th grade classroom. So in a kindergarten, well, first of all, when students log in, I do want to show you this. When students log in, they're going to log into their course dashboard. And they're going to see, again, I'm logged into my teacher account. They're going to see all of the courses that in which they're enrolled. So my students see their ELA, math, social studies. They'll see their PE class, their art class, music. All of those courses will be here on their course dashboard. They can also check it by clicking up here on courses, and all of their courses will show up. You can see I have a lot of different ones going on here. So if there's a kindergartner in Mrs. Chris class, they would click on her course. And this is almost exactly what they would see. Again, I'm in the teacher view. You'll see this beautiful Bitmoji classroom that many teachers in Bethel Park have been making. I personally am not using a Bitmoji classroom, but some teachers do. What's really cool about this is there's links inside the Bitmoji to take you to different outside sources. Then I scroll down here, and the landing page is materials. I scroll down, and I see there's a welcome video, so I might want to play the video. My kindergarten work for this week, and this is what I wanted to show you. Several elementary teachers have just kindergarten. Any elementary teacher may have chosen this option for your child, which looks like this. Everything's housed in one class. So in a moment here, I'm going to show you my class, and I have a different course for math. I have a different course for reading. I have a different course for social studies. That's one option. This is another option. Everything's housed within one course, so students don't need to click outside to another course. So on her Tuesday, you can see this is very kindergarten friendly. Very well done, Miss. You can see that there are different things that children need to do on Tuesday. And in here would be all of her language arts, her math. There's a couple videos posted. Like I said, pretty user follow through. See, she gives you instructions here. To go to Wednesday, I could click next. It would take me to Wednesday. These are, this will take me back. I can click here to these are called breadcrumbs. I'm sure someone else is going to talk to you about breadcrumbs a little later on in the presentation. This is one view of an elementary classroom. Everything will be housed in one course. The other is everything's housed in separate courses. So for example, I'm here in my courses, you're in my 4th grade class. I'm going to go to math. It's time for math. So I click on the math course. You can see I have different courses for different subjects. And like I said, I'm not using an Bitmoji classroom. This is a little bit more of a simple look. These are links that we use all the time in 4th grade in my classroom. So I posted them there. These are called buttons. And then down here, I have Tuesday, and this would be for math. So Tuesday for math. And then when it comes to science and social studies, my students will know to go back up here to click on courses and go to studies and science. So that is a quick rundown of elementary, what it could look like in an elementary classroom. I'm going to go ahead and toss the ball over to Mrs. Sham over at IMS.
Hi, everyone. I am Mrs. Sham, and I do teach at IMS. I teach 7th grade science on Team Valor. And my part of the presentation is to show what a course page may look like at the middle level, and also where to find your assignments. If you're, my kids are also virtual, and I know my main concerns are where are they going to find their assignments, what are their assignments going to look like, and how do they submit them. So that's my part. Let's start first with showing you what a course page from at the middle level may look like. And as Mrs. Mucci was saying, that there is, if you don't know, there is a Bitmoji classroom craze going on across the nation, and I drank the Kool-Aid. As you can see, this is my page. And so if you come to a page and you see something like this, there are many little places that you can click on here that are interactive, that you can find different things. My students are going to learn that in order to find their assignments, they're going to click, if they're A through K, they'll click on this part. If they are L through Z, they'll click here, and that'll take them to their weekly schedule. And then from there, they can find their daily assignments. Some teachers, as Mr. Ryer said, are different, and they don't want all the fluff of the Bitmoji classroom, and that's totally fine. So if I scroll down, this is what the student may come across if they find a teacher who wants to do it just more direct. So, but it's still going to be very easy to see where to find your assignments. Okay, and then speaking of assignments, let's talk about the 3 main types of assignments that students, especially at the middle level, will come across. There is a discussion type question or discussion type assignment where the teacher may give a prompt and the student has to respond. These can be graded or not. And then this right here, some of the other teachers and I agree that this is probably going to be the most common type of assignment, because we've been a Google Doc school district for a while. So a lot of our materials are Google Doc, Google Doc and Google Slides. So this is the type of assignment where the teacher is going to share a Google Doc to the students, and then they are going to have to put their answers on it and share it back to the teacher. And then finally, you have a type of assignment where the teacher doesn't share any information, doesn't share any document with the students. Instead, they just give instructions on what they want. And then the student is responsible for constructing and finding their own material to submit back to the teacher. So let's take a look at each one. Those are the types of commonly used assignments. So let's take a look at what each looks like and how students would go about submitting them. So for the discussion, when the student clicks on it, they're going to come across the instructions in the prompt. If the teacher is grading it with a rubric, they'll see a rubric here so they know how to get every single point. And then it's a discussion, so it's as easy as writing your comment in the comment box and then posting it. When you post, the student will know that they have successfully submitted the assignment because they will see their response down below. And that's a discussion assignment. Very easy and simple to do. Next, I'm going to go to that commonly used, the one that we think is going to be the most common type of assignment given. And this is the one where it's a shared Google Doc or Google slide that the teacher is sharing the document with the student. The student is going to put their answers in the doc and then share it back. This is what it will look like when they click on the assignment. The title of the assignment is here, and then the instructions, and the teacher may give a video or a PowerPoint in that part. But where is the assignment? Well, if they click right here on My Document, that's going to be the worksheet that was shared with the student. So when they click on that, sometimes this takes a while to load. Sometimes it's going to prompt the student to log into their Google Drive if they're not already logged on. If it doesn't show up at all, here's a place to troubleshoot where it says can't see your document, click here. All right, so once they have the document in front of them, they can just start typing away on it, and it's as easy as that. And if the student is unhappy with the very little space they have to see the actual document, they can click on this button right here, which is Edit. What that's going to do is going to make it a larger view that they're more familiar with, because this is how they've seen it always in the Google Suite. All right, so that they can then continue to type in all the answers, and when they're done, they're going to go back to the Schoology tab that's still open, and they're going to see that yes, I got all my answers in here. I'm ready to submit, and they're going to click on the Submit button, and it's going to ask, "Are you sure?" And yes. And then this happy little screen is going to pop up saying you're done. And that's how you know you've completed the assignment. Now let's say the student is like, "Oh, I'm not sure. I think I need to change an answer." Well, as long as it's not past the due date, they can go over here where it says Unsubmit. And then they can go back into the document and change anything they want, but they have to remember to submit it again so that it actually goes to the teacher. Okay? So that's that type of assignment. And the last type is the type of assignment where the teacher isn't sharing the doc, that the student is going to have to come up with their own material to submit back to the teacher. So they click on the link, and then here's all the instructions that the teacher is asking of them. Again, if it's graded with a rubric, the student will see how to get all their points. So how do they get into it? Well, there's a submit button, submit assignment. And this may cause pause for some students because whenever they were doing Google Classroom in the past, you never clicked submit assignment if you didn't finish it yet. Well, in Schoology, you want to submit the assignment, click that button, and that's going to bring up the box where you actually place your material to submit it to the teacher. There's many different things that, that can be done here depending on what the teacher wants. If the teacher is asking you to submit a file from your computer, you can click on that button, your downloads in your desktop. Let's say that the teacher is asking you for video or audio recording of an answer. I see this more for world language. Whenever you have to speak a sentence, you would click there. In this middle tab for Create, this is where you can type your answer. You can also use this button here, this Insert Content, and you can insert an image, a link. You can even go to your Google Drive and OneDrive resource and insert something there. And then finally, there's this tab right here, the resources. Again, you can click on the apps, and again, you can go to your Google Drive, and OneDrive. However, let's say you're part of a group doing a group assignment and you have a lot of shared materials that you need to give to the teacher. Perhaps you would have created a group with your partners, and then you can share that material from here. This assignment is asking you to submit a picture depicting how your summer went. So I found a picture. You can either copy the image address or copy the, just copy and paste. So I'm going to copy and paste my meme, and you're going to see it pops right up. And it's too big, so you're going to click on it and resize it. And then it's ready to submit to the teacher. Click submit, and you know that you have successfully completed your assignment when this part comes up over here that says assignment submitted. And again, just like the last assignment, if you're unhappy with what you did, you can always click resubmit, and it'll give you a second chance. All right, that is my part. I hope that helps to alleviate some of your worries about where to find the assignments, what type of assignments that you're going to have, and how to submit them. I hope you guys have a great school year.
Good. Thank you, Mrs. Sham.
Okay, thank you, Rochelle. I think I learned quite a lot in that session that I did not know before. So it was very, very instructive. Now let's see if I can get back to my screen here. Give it a minute to come into view. So we're back to the course dashboard, and as I was saying, you know, a lot of our things are new, but a lot are very similar. This will look very similar for students to their Google Classroom when they would go in and they would see all of the blocks of their various teachers' classes. So I'm going to first go into a course that actually the teachers took for the Schoology training, because some teachers will follow this model of creating the layout of their course by units or modules. You can see how this course was in these folders, module 1, module 2, that we would probably use the word units here at Bethel Park High School, but that there's this folder system that if the folder has a little arrow next to it, you can and you see the organization of the things that are inside the folder. Clicking on those, usually this was just an opening video, so a teacher might do an anticipatory set of preparing the kids for what they're about to learn with a video that they have produced or one that they have found appropriate. Katie mentioned the breadcrumbs. That's what we're talking about up here. If I've got, see if I can move, there we go. Sometimes you need to go back and not forward. So that's where, like Hansel and Gretel, you follow your breadcrumbs back home, and that will take you back to where you were. But this lesson just proceeds on down through with, again, more media content, and then asking students to do things, including that discussion, such as Rochelle was talking about. And again, going back, and I'll look at one more on here. And this page, I had another media for getting started, and then more activities. That wasn't the one that I was thinking of exactly. Let me try this one here. Well, this is another one where we see a layout of lots of things in a table where the student can work on down through. Again, we've been talking about landing pages. Some teachers will have their courses land on materials, the starting page. Some might have it start on the updates page, which is more like a social media feed if there's an announcement. It is possible for teachers to create an update that appears up here as an announcement as well. So those are things to look for in the layout of a course. I'm going to go to my senior level course here. I borrowed something from the playbook of elementary, trying to have it have a graphic appeal as well as those folders. I do have my folders down here, and trying to get students to the way to get into class down here. Mike is going to talk about looking for those things, but teachers are going to be explaining through updates and arrows and so forth where for students to go. So I'm using these graphics here to take students to the current lesson that would have media at the top and then the workflow below it. Also an assignments page where they can find their assignments in order, and just trying to make it clear for them to navigate through the pages and find what they're going to need. So as the LMS is revealed over the next 24 hours or so, it would be good for students to go in and parents to look and see how those courses are arranged. One other thing that is in my course here is a digital notebook that they will be able to use through OneNote, and they will be able to find that by going down on the side panel to that notebook. And it is a notebook that delivers information to them, as well as it has a place for them to add their assignments and add their own pages and take notes for their course. So that's something you may see in the coming weeks as we get rolling here. Something else I wanted to share with everybody that I feel is important, because I remember back in March when we went to remote, all of a sudden. Many students found that they were overwhelmed with the amount of emails and updates and notices and Google Classroom notifications that they were receiving. And so I wanted to point out notifications in Schoology. For this is someplace that you will want to do for yourself as well as students, and that is by going into this profile area here. You'll find your settings button here, which brings you to this account page, and the second tab over is the notifications tab. Here you have a lot of control, and students will have this control as well in their account. There are 20 different items here of things that possibly could trigger a notification. And if you multiply that for not only your email, but you also would set up a mobile phone, that's an option. It's not required, but it is an option that many of the students with phones find it very handy to receive information if there's a new assignment or a grade has been posted, that sort of thing. But there are a lot of things here that probably are not as they wouldn't be as interested in having, or would rather have go to email, have some things go to email and other things go to their phone, the more urgent things or the things they're more curious about. For instance, if somebody would comment on one of their discussion posts, they might want to know that right away. And so that would be a phone item. But many of these other things would want to be toggled off. I have looked at a student account, and I can see that our IT staff has done some good guessing, but that's someplace where you would like to go in and make sure that it's working the way you will want it to work. Because obviously, I started off by talking about this is an LMS is a connection, and you definitely we don't want to turn everything off, because then we'll lose the connection. But pick the things that matter most to you. I had a list here. I was made a list earlier that I can't find right now, but there are about half a dozen items that I think are probably the ones that are priorities that you would want to have maybe a phone notification or an email sent to yourself, and the other ones are not necessarily things that you would be wanting to find out about all of the time. So that would help lessen the overwhelm of and the distraction that could come from receiving too many notifications. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the screen and pass it over to Mike. He's going to tell us about how to get to class on Tuesday. As we've shown you, there are a few places a few layouts to look for, and he's going to talk about where on those updates and materials to find those. Mike?
Thank you, Charles. So you should be seeing essentially what students will see when they enter Schoology. And to kind of segue from what Charles was saying about the information overload, it's important to understand that there are many different icons, many different places to go. People are going to be communicating many different ways. And so how do we find out how to get into the live teaching, which is essentially the synchronous instruction, especially on day one? And I'm going to enter my English 9 courses. And I've made it so that I have this announcement at the top to clarify how to get into WebEx. However, some teachers might not have that there and instead are going to have it in the materials tab underneath here. And so WebEx is what I have at the top to make it super clear so everybody's able to get into it. However, some teachers might not be using WebEx. It works really well. It's a reputable company and everything, and video works. I think that the audio especially works pretty well. However, some teachers are still using Zoom. Others might use Google Meets. And so it's important that maybe students take a look even the night before or well before class as to how they're going to get in, because they have to have that link. That could be something that teachers send through updates, but as you can see, you have to click a different screen in order to get to the updates. And some might not see that with all of these different widgets and windows and everything on the screen. And so when they click on this, I'm not going to because I'm currently in a WebEx discussion right now. But when they click on it, it'll take them to another screen. But then from there, it just simply says to join the class. And it's very similar to Zoom. And I'd imagine that most high school age students at the very least are very familiar with the basic functions, and it's not all that different. But I'm going to go over a couple of things that everybody I think should keep in mind. First is when you enter, a lot of us are used to using Zoom, and often when you enter, you have to tell people, turn your mic on, turn your video on, and so on. But I found that in WebEx, at least, it is on automatically unless the organizer changed that. And so that's something I'm going to play around with my students to make sure that I don't have 25, 30 different audio sounds coming in. And so when they enter, they should just know to turn their sound off so that the presentation can go smoothly. The teacher can turn it off as well, but it'd be a good thing for students to do. And it's going to be teacher preference, I think, regarding the video. Something we haven't fully ironed out, and I think that is going to have to kind of be discussed throughout the remote learning as to whether or not the students have the cameras on. Because if none of them have it on and I'm teaching and I can't see anybody's face, that could be challenging, not just in terms of speaking to nobody, but also being able to check for understanding, to see if people are nodding, to see that people are there. So some might request that students have their video on, and in that case, it's probably a good time to have a talk with students about what is in the background, about how if they get up to use the bathroom to shut off the video. I think most of us probably seen the news story about the school board member in Pittsburgh Public that left it on while starting to take a shower. So these are things that might not seem obvious to them or they might not care about, but it might be good to talk about ahead of time. So also, they should keep in mind the school dress code and anything else in the student handbook as to how they're presenting themselves on screen. And when it comes to the students presenting and talking, it could be a good idea as well to set up a space in the house somewhere where you have good lighting and you don't have a window behind you and the light source is in front of them, and to maybe have the screen as well elevated, the camera elevated to about eye level rather than on their laps facing up, just for whenever they need to talk. Also, if they get kicked out, I know that a lot of high school age students especially might just say, well, that's it, I guess I don't have to go to class. That those things happen, that they should go back in. If the screen freezes as well, they should go back in. And they probably shouldn't try to have too many things going on at once in the background, like having the tab with WebEx or Zoom or whatever open and then just going to another tab and doing something complicated. It might slow everything down a lot, especially on the first day till we all see how it's going to go. If they do have problems too, I think it's important to communicate to the teachers that if they just don't have a great internet connection, they're running into issues. I know that in class, a lot of students are too shy to come up and say that they're having difficulty with something. And the same thing could happen here, to send an email to the teacher to make it clear, hey, I didn't get that lesson, I'm having a hard time, so that we can work to rectify the situation. That's about all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bellini. Appreciate that thorough explanation, especially on the conferencing piece. I think it's important to know that this is a big undertaking by the district and by all of you out there. And any of you who've gone through a software upgrade in your company at work know that there's always kinks to work out. And we've been ironing things out here for a couple of weeks. And hopefully the number of kinks will be small, but I would imagine there'll be a little bit. So to that effect, as Dr. Youngs had indicated, we are nailing up a Schoology help desk. It'll be available every evening, Monday through Thursday from 6 to 9. And that'll be staffed by new technology paras. And we'll evaluate the call load. And if it looks like we need more help, we'll ask for more help on that desk. And so we're also going to have the Schoology@bphawks.org email address, which we'd encourage you to mail your questions to. And then we're going to take those questions and answer them in a frequently asked question doc, which we will post to the Schoology page on the website. And we will keep it updated in real time. And so that'll always have the most recent answers and questions at the top of that list. I wanted to show you that our teachers have been extremely hard at work over the last week, actually more than a week, but definitely the last week. So I just wanted to show you real quick, and I'm going to share my screen. This is one of the features of Schoology is analytics, and so analytics is basically showing you statistics on how the platform's used. And teachers actually have this too. So teachers can see down to the student level, who's doing what and how long they're doing what. But as you can see here, that in the last 7 days, August 23rd through August 29th, there have been 10,169 Schoology sessions, 6,789 teacher sessions, 3,329 student sessions. And that doesn't mean that that there have been 3,000 students log in. That just means there have been 3,000 logins by students. So, a student logging in 10 times would count as 10 on that list. And then if you come down here to course materials created, in the last 7 days, our teachers have created 12,593 various course materials, which is just incredible. I mean, it's just mind-boggling how much work is going on right now to get this ready for your students on Tuesday. And so it's pretty interesting and impressive. And you can see the how the timeline shows, but we've been working on this quite a lot. Even going back into the August when we first turned this up and people started getting into it and learning to use it. So, Dr. Youngs, did you have some final information you wanted to finish up with?
Sure. I just wanted to show the first steps for the first day again.
You're a
Reminding
little bit
folks.
quiet. Can you turn that up just a wee bit, please?
My audio?
Yes.
Is that better?
Maybe a little bit.
I'm not sure. I haven't touched anything. And
Okay, well,
so
Thank you.
the information is on the screen, so that just the first steps, things to think about in review here. You've got to see some of the ways that teachers are preparing to welcome the students. And these are the two ways to get to the site: through the bpsd.org quick links or the BP Hawks bookmarks.
And Charles, if I can interject here,
Yes.
don't go to Schoology.com. Okay, if you do that, you won't be able to log in. It has to be the BP Hawks one. So that's not just there, you know, in case somebody doesn't know the website. It's there. You have to go to the BP Hawks page, not Schoology.com. It just won't work.
Right. Thank you. Good call on that. We've seen the materials and the updates. Those are two places where teachers may be trying to focus students to how to get into the class. You want to, as soon as you can get in, find the video link. And again, my point on adjusting those notifications so that you don't have overwhelm. And here's the final slide for the evening, again with those email address for the Schoology questions that you have, as well as just a reminder that we will, starting tomorrow night, have a help desk for folks as you get familiar with Schoology. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Dr. Youngs. I appreciate the your incredible organization and laying this all out and your willingness to present. Really, all of your willingness to present tonight, because this has been so helpful for our parents and for our students to watch this and understand what your courses are going to look like potentially, and you know, just kind of gain a comfort level of clicking through Schoology to learn how they're going to be interacting with you during this remote time of remote learning or distance learning. So I do appreciate you tuning in tonight, and remember, Schoology at bphawks.org. You can send your questions there. I'm not sure if that link is live tonight, but if it's not live tonight, it'll be live in the morning. So again, thank you all for tuning in. So I hope you have a good evening.